In this lesson, we're going to examine pediatric IVs. What's different about this is the drop rates are all the same. So the drop rate is going to be 60 drops per milliliter. For all of these pediatric IVs. Also, we need to flush. So once a dosage is given, there is an extra amount of fluid that is given to make sure all of the medication has been given to the pediatric patient. So a flush is typically added to make sure all medication is delivered. So what we want to look at an example and identify how much fluid we need to add as well as the flow rate that we're going to be examining. So here's the example we'll look at. We have IV medication of 160 milligrams is ordered. So we need to give 160 milligrams to the patient. The label says 40 milligrams per milliliter. So thinking about this, 40 milligrams per milliliter, we need to give 160 milligrams. You can probably see how many milliliters you're going to need. Now what do we dilute it to? The goal is to dilute to 50 milliliters. In terms of making our medication. So we need to add some additional sterile water to the original mixture to go ahead and get the level of dilution that we want. We want to infuse this over 45 minutes. Then we want to follow with a 15 milliliter flush. The first question we're going to ask is, find the amount of IV fluid needed to mix the medication. And the next thing asks us for the flow rate. So you can see that we're ordering 160 milligrams. That's what we're going to start with. And let's convert that to milliliters. Now, what does it tell us? The label tells us it's 40 milligrams per milliliter. So we're going to need milligrams to count, so we need milliliters on the top to convert this into milliliters of medication or of mixture that we're using. And again, it's telling us 40 milligrams per milliliter. As milligrams cancels, 160 divided by 40 is 4 milliliters. So we're going to need a total of 4 milliliters of this solution, of this pediatric IV that has 40 milligrams of medication per milliliter. Now, it says dilute to 50 milliliters. So we have 4 milliliters of medication. We need 50 milliliters of solution. So looking at that, how much more do we need to add to mix the medication? So the answer to question A is we must add 50 minus 4, which equals 46 milliliters of IV fluid. So we start with our medication, we add the 46 milliliters to go ahead to get a total of 50 milliliters of solution. So now we have 50 milliliters of solution. We also have to do a flush. We also need 15 milliliters flush. So that would be a total of 65 milliliters must be delivered. In how many minutes? 65 milliliters must be delivered how often? In a total of 45 minutes. So we're going to start then with that fraction. 65 milliliters in 45 minutes. Now the drop rate is always the same. We are dealing with the drop rate of 60 drops per milliliter. So we'll go ahead and get milliliters to cancel. Milliliters on the bottom, drops on the top. And the standard dimensions of the tubing used here is 60 drops per 1 milliliter. So then let's do the multiplication and see what we get here, the result being drops per minute. So 65 times 60 divided by 45 is 86.7 drops per minute. And we will round that to 87 drops per minute. So let's continue with one more example. This time we'll say IV. Medication of 100 milligrams is ordered. It's to be diluted to 50 milliliters. You want to infuse over 30 minutes. Flush with 15 milliliters. And the label reads 100 milligrams of medication per 2 milliliters. So the first thing we're going to look for is the amount of IV fluid needed to mix. Medication. And the second thing we're going to ask for is to find the flow rate in drops per minute. So first off, we see that we're ordering 100 milligrams of medication. We'd like to convert that into milliliters. So this is 100 milligrams of some sort of a pharmaceutical. But the mixture says 100 milligrams corresponds to 2 milliliters. So 100 milligrams is 2 milliliters. So indeed we need to have 2 milliliters of medication, of mixture. But we're supposed to dilute to 48. Excuse me, dilute to 50. So to answer question A, we need to add 48 milliliters to mix the medication. So we know we have a total of 50. We have 50 milliliters plus we have 15 milliliters of a flush, for a total of 65 milliliters, to be administered over what time frame? To be administered over 30 hours. Excuse me, 30 minutes. To be infused over 30 minutes. we want to convert that to the flow rate in terms of drops per minute. So we currently have 65 milliliters per 30 minutes. Now the drop rate for this pediatric tubing is always the same. That is 60 drops per milliliter. So I'll go ahead and make that change. 60 drops per 1 milliliter. And you'll notice that once milliliters cancel, we get drops per minute. 65 times 60 divided by 30 is 130 drops per minute. So that's our question B. The flow rate is 130 drops per minute. And that will conclude this lesson.